If you're struggling to get your cartoon heads right, you're not alone. Honestly, it's not your hand, it's where you draw. But once you understand what to focus on, you'll start drawing them much better. Been there, had the same struggle, until I realized what I was missing, the foundation. So today, I show you how to exaggerate cartoon heads on solid basics. And by the end, you'll see how understanding the structure gives you the freedom to draw any cartoon head shape you want. So, exaggeration, right? What can we actually tweak on a cartoon head? I mean, the overall head shape, not the facial features. We'll cover those in their own episodes. So the key areas to experiment with on a head shape are two main parts, the cranium on top and the jaw below. Now let's see first the cranium. We can immediately start to play around with it, because who said that in a cartoony world a skull should be a perfect rounded shape, right? So we can stretch it into a long oval or squish it flat like this. But it shouldn't even be rounded shape at all, so we can draw it, for example, square shape by flattening the top more, but we can exaggerate it in every direction at once, which gives us a huge head. Now let's move on to the jaw. We can exaggerate it into any shape too, so we can draw it really close to the eyes. It can be long again, until you break it totally. Or I'm sure you've seen those bulky cartoon guys, you know, the ones with super wide jaw lines. Their jaws are huge in both directions, so long and wide, really silly looking, totally cartoon vibe. And let's draw a jaw for this guy too, a super pointy triangle one. Okay, and what happens if we shuffle them? Well, cartoon chaos unleashed, as you can see already. So I'm gonna start drawing them properly to see better what we've got so far. And I removed the head shapes since I made them on separate layers, so we can see things more clearly. So this one has a really tall forehead, while this guy's is much shorter. You can see that they've got the same head shape though, just a totally different look because the facial features are placed differently. Here, I'll shrink the cranium a bit. It's too large right now. And tweak the jaws a little. And this one's got that nice pointy jaw. Okay, now let's see the structure behind these cartoon heads, because once you get it, drawing a head won't just be copying what you've seen, you'll actually know how to create it. And that's the game changer, because you stop scribbling randomly and start experimenting with shapes and lines on purpose. It'll dramatically speed up your learning. So, structure. So what we're really doing now is playing around with the skull underneath to create different cartoon head shapes. Basically, we exaggerate everything we can. Because in the cartoon world, exaggeration isn't just allowed, it's expected. Not mandatory though, but it's a fundamental part of the style. So this circle here, especially its top curve, what I've shown you before, represents the upper part of the skull. The head dome, if you like it, but it's called the cranium. So we can exaggerate the cranium by stretching it into an oval shape to create an extra tall forehead. Maybe he has too tall forehead. I'm just trying to shrink it a little bit. Then we exaggerated his jaw a bit smaller. This other guy's got a shorter cranium and lower jaw lines. But we can do it another way. If the teeth drop down with the chin, we get a completely different face. See? All right. Then the third character has a flattened, slightly squarish cranium and a very prominent jawline. And the last one with a big rounded cranium with a tiny little jawline. Now, in this case, in the skeleton view, we've got this alien guy. But if we want to avoid an alien invasion, we can just stretch the jaw wider and shorter, and instantly we got a cute baby head. A bit wonky on the ears, but that's okay. So lots and lots of options here. Now, we haven't talked about the facial features on these distorted, exaggerated heads. Remember, we are still focusing on the head shape itself. It's not a tutorial about how to draw facial features, but we do need to see how the features naturally sit on these exaggerated shapes, so the head still reads correctly. So about the placement of the eyes, the easiest way to remember where to draw them is that they always sit on this line, about 1/3 of the circle's diameter. And what's this circle again? It represents the cranium, the top part of your skull, and the eyes usually sit right around its lower edge. But why does it matter to break it down and keep it in mind? Because when we start drawing a head shape, we've got a few different ways we can begin. So we can start by drawing the whole head first and placing the facial features right away. Then we can start transforming it into the shape we want, giving it a big rounded cheeks, realizing we want the mouth turned downward instead, so we redraw it. Then we notice the nose looks too small, so we make it bigger. Refine the eyes, add the eyebrows as well, and finally draw the ears. So we start to polish the details. And I think this is the most common way people begin drawing a head. I don't know, just assuming here. But the other option to start drawing a head, when you begin with the cranium first. Why would you do that? Because, taking my example, I just can't nail the whole head shape with one clean line. I try to draw a really small cranium with a huge jaw part, but I just can't do it right. So instead of forcing it, I start by drawing a tiny cranium, and then I build a huge exaggerated jaw underneath. After that, I can place the eyes, which now I know immediately where I have to draw, and the other features. Or take another case when I want to draw a character with a big upper head, but he's wearing a hat. I just can't pull off that complicated outline in one go, so instead I break it down. I start with the exaggerated cranium first, then add the facial part underneath, and move on to the details. Both ways are totally fine. I usually pick whichever method makes the most sense for the character I'm drawing, depending on how tricky the head shape is. So we've covered where the eyes go, and they always shift with the cranium, whether you know it or not. It happens beneath the surface. But what about the other facial features? Once the eyes are in place, there are lots of ways to position the nose and mouth, just like we saw before. Let's take a look. So when we stretch the cranium, nothing really changes down here, no matter how much we extend the upper part, right? The real changes happen when we tweak the lower part, the jaws. If we push the jaw lines down, we can decide whether the mouth moves with them or not, just like I showed you earlier. If it doesn't, then it stays up here and creating a huge cartoonish chin. If the mouth moves down with the jawlines, it gives the character a completely different look. And take a look at this case. The nose can stay near the eyes, slide down toward the mouth, or land anywhere in between. And this will also determine where the ears go. We haven't even talked about ear placement yet. So the ears naturally sit roughly between the eyes and nose. So when the nose moves, the ears have more options to shift along with it. So in this case, they could go up here by the eyes or a bit lower by the nose. But if we try placing them down here, it just feels a little off. Why? Because they are too far from the nose, not to mention the eyes. Not too bad though, it could actually look like the character is slightly looking up. And that's all about the perspective distortion, but we'll cover that in a later episode. For now, let's put the ears back here. In the second case, we can place the ears up by the eyes or down to the nose, and it just looks better than before. Why? Because they are at least close to the nose. In the third case, we can place the ears up here again, or lower next to the nose, where they naturally belong, or even down here, and it still looks okay. And I wanted to show you all of these because once you understand what's happening under the surface, exaggeration suddenly makes a lot more sense. So you'll see what you can safely push, what to keep, and what to throw out entirely. It's like learning the rules before you start breaking them. So you're not just distorting shapes randomly anymore. You are bending structure with intent. And that's the real difference, I think, between a character that feels solid and believable and one that looks like it's melting. See how much freedom we have in a cartoon world? You just need to know how to approach it, what to tweak and how to do it right to create tons of new and interesting designs. Alright, structure mastered. Now we can go wild, and we will, because we're gonna draw some of them in the next tutorial. So hit the subscribe if you haven't already. That way you'll definitely won't miss this madness. See you there.